Welcome back to One Comic Book a Day, where we're covering Superboy issue 18 and the second story, Superboy's Big Brother. I got a little excited knowing full well this was probably not going to be that story, but that this might be the Mon-El introduction story, Mon-El being a character that still exists in Superboy. And it's more of a modern idea that he is sort of his older brother, or he thinks himself as Superboy's older brother. See Mark Waid's more recent Phantom story from 2 years ago, which I've definitely done some stuff on doing a bigger video with my problems with that story, but I digress. But no, it is not Mon-El. It's just a random kid who is his big brother for this one and only issue. What is set up, and maybe not intentional, this is probably more me reading into things as being a kind of other character to be a problem with his secret identity coming out. And it's definitely there. It's just not the crux of the whole story. It's definitely what's getting to the climax of the story. That's the conflict they're going there. But I've sort of come to this conclusion that the main issue with a lot of these conflicts about his secret identity comes to there's a lack of consequences. I don't mean that the character needs to actively know who he is from now to eternity. I just think sometimes Superboy screws up in a way, and seeing how easily he gets out of it, especially sometimes without him doing anything, see this story, that there needs to be some sort of consequence or comeuppance. I don't even mean something severe, like maybe a pie gets thrown into his face. How does that lead up to anything? I don't know, but it seems like a consequence. It's something. So, to get to this story, man, they're closing the Smallville orphanage due to there being such a high rate of adoption. There actually aren't many kids left. We need to have a talk with Smallville City Council. First, they try to get rid of the police force because Superboy exists. Now they're getting rid of the orphanage while orphans still exist. I get that there's less orphans, but if there's still one orphan left, I want a functioning orphanage. Let that happen. So they basically just stand around like, okay, so who's going to deal with this so taxpayers don't have to deal with this? Screw Smallville. I've come around. Let it get destroyed by a meteor. Okay, that's maybe severe. But there's definitely massive problems with Smallville's way of thinking. Leaving to one kid left, Robert, and his placement is decided by a lottery, which Mr. and Mrs. Kent win. Not yet quite named Jonathan and Martha. So now Clark has this older brother, Robert, who's kind of like sly, seems to think he knows everything. And as I said, you kind of think this is going to be a story about him trying to protect his secret identity because they share a room. He leaves that night to do something, comes back. Robert doesn't put two and two together. Robert's not as smart as I think Robert thinks he is. Robert just thinks he's up to things. And there's this whole other part because, well, it's a Superboy story. There's going to have to be some sort of gang or crime-related issue, and they're going after Jonathan Storr. But even though this takes up a large chunk of the middle, it's almost completely superfluous to the story. What you get out of it is Robert sort of understands that Clark is up to something, just not that he's Superboy, and he tries to fix the situation with these crooks trying to rob Jonathan. It doesn't really matter what any of this is about, other than Robert dresses himself like Superboy trying to help. So he kind of proves himself in the eyes of Clark as someone trustworthy. So when we get to the end, because there's not a lot going on in the story, there's two moments where they have to deal with the criminals. The criminals are not much of a threat. There's not even a three thing. So Clark is going to build him a bicycle as Superboy and reveal to him that indeed he is in fact Superboy, letting him in on the big secret. But as soon as he does this, turns out Robert has found a family. So he's not going to stick around or ever be seen again. So you get one panel right after this where Superboy is panicked that he just revealed his secret identity to somebody. Why is this not the conflict throughout the story? There's barely been a conflict. Any attempt at it is sort of thrown out to make Robert a good guy to try to get to this climax. But leaving your conflict till the climax just leaves the rest of your story dead in the water. But don't worry, in the next panel, Robert just goes, oh yeah, you can keep the Superboy costume I had. He thinks Clark just wanted to dress up like Superboy when he handed him the bicycle. See, there is no consequence. There is no punishment or comeuppance. Punishment's too hard of a word for Superboy doing this. It's just a weird scene, especially escalated by the fact that he didn't do anything to get out of the problem. It just solved itself because Robert's an idiot. I just think you should have to work hard in a superhero story to solve the problems, because why else would you have superheroes in your story? Okay, that is it from Superboy issue 18, Superboy's Big Brother. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. I do this Monday through Friday, but Fridays is Bat Friday, where I cover a Batman story in either Detective Comics or Batman. And until next time, let us ponder the question, whatever did happen to the boy of tomorrow? And when are we getting Mon-El? Or any of the classic villains. I mainly did this because I knew Bizarro was coming in the 50s. Okay, have a great day.